going over the market breakdown for Tuesday. It was a no trade day for me. I was looking for buys, so I'll kind of go over why I was looking for buys and didn't take any sells a little bit later. But currently I'm using the replay feature, so it shows the whole daily candle printed on the monthly at this time. So you'll see the whole, basically the whole day within this candle right here at this moment. So looking at the monthly, I'm just going to kind of mark up the charts and show you what I look for as far as like targets and zones. So looking here, the monthly last month was bullish. This one was bullish at this point when I was looking at the market. So I was essentially targeting this wick here being the next target, maybe these candle closures being the one thereafter, and then the top of these wicks being the target thereafter if it was to break this level. So that's kind of just how I look at the monthly. I don't really spend too much time on it. It's been straight bullish, so I'm really primarily looking for buys. Sells I'll probably take on the smaller time frames because it's going to take a long time for this monthly to break this bullish structure all the way down here. So let's go down to the weekly and then just look at the monthly zones that are marked up, see if they make sense on the weekly. If they don't, you can always adjust them. So maybe this one can be adjusted to like maybe here in between these where all these wicks are tapping into, support was created, and these wicks kind of lines up with a 550 level, maybe 500. So 500 seems to make sense here. Probably in the lower time frames we could see this a little clearer, but just to get an overall idea, this one could probably be moved up to like this candle closure here, maybe around zero point 0.3, probably even 0.400 being a round even number. Change that to 0.400, and then this one here being 0.6, which is perfect. These are all like levels where GJ typically likes to react at, like even numbers, 0.500, 0.400, 600, 800, things like that. So if you can kind of line up the zone to match up with that number, it might just make it easier psychologically when the price gets there. And easier just to manage the trade and things like that. So let's go down to the daily. And again, it's the whole daily candle. It's using the candle replay feature. So on the smaller time frames, we can see what happened here. But just keep in mind, it's the whole daily candle. So pretend this didn't happen. So on the daily, we can see that we have a level somewhere in here. And I do like to look at the right and see what number I'm basically putting this line at. And zero point 0.8 seems to make sense with this resistance. Breakout couldn't remain above and then broke lower. So that seems to make sense there on the daily. Let's go ahead and put another one probably here. You can see that this one here created a liquidity wick to the downside with some support and tried to break above, tested the bottom of the range and broke it. So we could probably see this more clear on a smaller time frame, which I'll go into in a second. And yeah, just getting the idea over here because price is still all the way up here. So just getting an idea of where price could come down to if it did. And then here, probably adjust this level to be somewhere at the top of this wick at 0.400 instead of the 0.500 that we had from the weekly, just because it's more relevant to current price action. So adjust that one there. Maybe I could actually use something down here, 350-ish, because this candle hadn't created its wick yet. And let's go ahead and go down to the 4-hour. And then this is what I do from the daily zones. I pretty much clear them up on the smaller time frames. So this here looks like it could be a zone, but I'd primarily like to have it somewhere maybe within, I'm looking at the numbers to the right also to see what makes sense. Because of this price action here, I'll probably leave it at this level here, maybe ES to 850. That looks good there. With the most recent price action, because we can add another level here. Use a line. Put one here. This one's probably going to be around 400. Yeah, because these wicks here and then the support created over here. So 400 seems to make sense. All right, so we're pretty good on this side over here. Not going to spend too much time marking this up. Maybe just clean this one, the last one up a little bit. 5.200 makes sense. You can see these wicks tapping in here. Resistance, fake out to the downside. Support, resistance, resistance. Perfect. So let's go into the more recent price action here on the 4-hour. Take another line. Looking at the numbers on the right, 0.800 here seems to make sense. Change this. And then again, we're going to adjust these on the 1-hour time frame. So just getting an idea of the 4-hour where we could go with these potential targets. This one can be 0.200. Got some resistance here. Looks like it broke back under. It's struggling around this area, so probably another little zone within here. So let's go into the 1-hour. See how these zones line up? So to me, these zones look perfect. Now what I will do is use the rectangle tool and just kind of box this area out so that way I'm not looking for price to just tap into this line here. I'm looking for it to get within this zone because price, it's really difficult to make a line and expect price to react at that specific line, which it did happen here, but it's not always going to happen perfectly on the line where it's going to just tap the line and go off. So I do like to make these little zones here, and these here are perfect. So at this point in time, it's about midnight using the replay feature. So I look at the charts around like 1, 2 a.m. potential setups because pre-London volume can hit around that time around 2, 3 a.m. London volume at 4, and then pre-New York and New York thereafter. So this is pretty much what I had at the point in time on Tuesday. So what I was looking for was a break and close above this level 350. Reason being, it's the most recent significant high if we look on the daily time frame. Since this candle hadn't created yet, this one here was about 350. So this being the most recent high, and we can see that it's been straight bullish since then. So I was expecting the same thing here, because GJ just still hasn't shown any signs at this point of being bearish. So I was really just sticking with buys for today and no sells, and I'll show you why. So using the time frames, excuse me, from the 4 hour, the 1 hour, daily, monthly, weekly, we now have these zones that we can use to trade and scalp within. So if you want to clean this up also, I wanted to point this out prior. Let me show you here. So we can see that this is a pretty nasty range. This was like the Monday or Friday consolidation. This is Monday, Friday consolidation over here. So we can actually use this to create like a small little level within a range. So our small range within a range. I'm sorry. So something like this here, because we can see price was bouncing within this range here, and then looking here, it sort of respected it here, respected it here, respected it here, sort of. Got a little bit of respect here, here, wick off the area. So we can see it's like a range within a range. So just keeping that in mind, because this is going to kind of add to the sell, the reason why I didn't want to take sells in a moment. But just want to point that out beforehand so that you can see all these different levels, to get an idea of why sells didn't really look that attractive. Um, I really just wanted to break and close above this level, but now looking at the 30-minute time frame, instead of using 350, I now see 400 is right here, which is a psychological level, and we have wicks at that area. So what I would really want is a break and close above 4.400. Let me adjust this zone. So now what I'm looking at is I want to break and close above 0.400, and looking to the left here, we look like we have like a little mini resistance and support. And you can see us a little better on the 15-minute time frame, where you can see to the left, we had some resistance here, respected it with some support, resistance, broke through it, came back under it, and now it's looking like it's acting as some sort of resistance since the candle is closing beneath it. And then here as well, we have some form of support, broke underneath it, came back up, tested the top of the range, resistance, resistance, support, resistance, support, support. So we can see that this level is being respected here also. So essentially what I really wanted was a break and close above this 0.400 level, so that way I could take some buys. But looking at this candle here, let me go ahead and go to the 30 minutes so we can skip ahead. So we're still at about 12:30 Eastern time. Now we're at about 2 a.m. So this is pretty much when I'm trying to look for a trade. I'm waiting for price to break and close above this level. And it never did happen. I'm just going to kind of go through the candles and then tell you why I didn't really want to take sells, because sells did play out, but I'm going to show you why I didn't want to. So nothing happened as far as the buys that I wanted to, and I was really sticking to buys because GJ's been bullish. The only point that I would really be interested in sells, looking at the 1 hour, let's see if we can see it here. Maybe the 4 hour is better. So on the 4 hour, this really isn't pretty price action from what I would say, because price was stuck in here in the 4 hour range, and then it was stuck in here in the 4 hour candles. So these two ranges are quite messy on the lower time frames to try and sell in. Even though we're scalping, it just didn't seem to make sense to me until price got below this level where we have cleaner candles. And this is where I'd be more interested in taking sells, potentially down to this level. If this level breaks, potentially down with this level. So I really like to wait for these key levels of support to break to then switch my bias, unless there's really clean traffic. So looking at the 30-minute, the reason I really wasn't interested in sells, let me use this brush tool. So This was about 2 a.m. So the reason I didn't want to take sells if this support broke is because there's a support right here. So I don't want to take sells into a support that's right here. And the range is quite small. If we look at from here to here, and we can see this is a level that was respected prior with the level of resistance here, level of support here, level of resistance, support, broke through, made a support. This level here being 0.200 is having some significance with price. So I don't want to take a sell from this level down to here with this small range. This range was clean, this little bullish traffic here and this bearish candle mirroring that move. So this was actually a clean move to take, but I didn't want to take sells because I saw this level here. This is the level of support. This range here, I think, is only like 13, 14 pips. 14 pips. So I don't want to take a trade when I'm looking for 10 pips and the whole range is 14 pips. So to me, that didn't make too much sense to try and take a sell there. There's also another support here. All this support here, resistance, I'm sorry, support, resistance. So this area being somewhere price could also get stuck at, looking at the range from below here down to here is 11 pips. So I'm not going to take that sell either if I'm looking for 10. Breaking this support, looking at all the, oops, sorry, but the brush was on, looking at all these wicks here, this didn't look good to me to try and sell into. And then also, if you really want to get picky, another little small zone right here, got some support, resistance. This is where all some of the wicks were tapping into. This is where we ended up actually finding a support. So that's also why I didn't want to take sells. Looking to the left, these sort of made sense. I'll show you why I didn't want to take these too. You can see these wicks made some sort of resistance here, even though this is the clean move coming all the way down to here, probably up to here more or less. The ranges now get smaller with all the choppy traffic to the left. So if I take a sell, if it breaks here, expecting it to mirror this move or this move, the range from here to here is 10 pips. I don't know if I measured this range, but I'll do it for you too real quick. This range, this is another 13 pips, another small range. So I don't want to be taking a sell still because the ranges are small. Support here, support here, support here, resistance is here, support here, support here. So it's like for me, it didn't make much sense to try and take sells if I'm seeing all this nasty traffic on the way down. I'd rather wait for it to get below maybe this level because now we have maybe a clean range here. Let me measure this one. Break this support, small 10 pip range if it was to respect this level. Break that one. There's 21, 27, all the way down to this level. This level looks really nice to sell beneath because we have a healthy range from here to here, 22 pips. So if I'm only looking for 10 pips, this is really where I'm trying to look for a sell. And also looking at the 4 hour, we can see that it's been making higher highs and higher lows. So primarily what I would want to do is wait for some of these the significant supports to break because if I use this little tool here, I can see price made a push up here, made a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Could have made a higher low here to push and make a new higher high. So the reason that I'm not looking for sells is because this could just be a higher low on the higher time frames to push price higher. So for me, it didn't make sense to take sells there. If you really want to count this whole move as a push, could come back for retracement and push up also if you're looking at like the daily time frame or the weekly, so looking at the daily, it's a straight push to the upside. This could just be forming a lower high, I mean a higher low to continue pushing price higher. So for that reason, I wasn't really looking for sells on this day. Even though they were beautiful, they worked out really well for anyone that took them. It just wasn't anything that I was really interested in. It kept on melting here, and sells played out really well, and it kind of just broke through all these supports to the left. But that's really what kind of threw me off of taking sells is because of all these levels of support. Looking left, it just seemed like a lot of traffic for price to get through. And looking at the 4 hour, these candles, like I said before, they're not exactly pretty to be trying to sell in because you can see they're making higher highs, and then it makes a higher high here, then it made a lower high here, then it made a higher high, lower high, lower high, lower high, higher high, lower high. It's really messy as far as the traffic on the left on the 4 hour. So it's not something that I'm looking to try and trade on the lower time frames, and also with all the traffic that we're seeing on the lower time frames. So essentially that's just why Tuesday was a no trade day for me. I really wanted the buys to happen here, being that it was a significant resistance that price had reached. So I was expecting if price did make a minor support or a candle closure above and then broke that high, we would expect at least a 10 pip move to the next key level, which, looking on the monthly, I think it was 0.500, adjusted at the 0.400 with current price action. But, the levels are really far away looking at the monthly. We use the daily to go back and look here. I just know it's far away. I don't want to make this video too long, but we had another level here, maybe 0.600 we could have targeted. Looking at the daily, and then if 0.600 broke, there's this huge range going to the upside of 170 pips looking left with these clean candles in the daily. So I was really expecting the bullish momentum to continue and stick with buys. Oops. And then when price just started to kind of go bearish and I saw all the traffic to the left, I kind of just called it a day. Um, but that's just where my train of thought goes. I try to make sure that the trades are really clean that I take. So this move really wasn't expected looking left. It's not exactly clean coming up. So this clean move coming down, it to me wasn't expected. I just didn't see this happening today on a Tuesday after two low volume days. This being Friday holiday, Monday being a holiday. It was sort of, just in. See if I can get this tool out. It was just sort of like in a big range here. If we look, price was just stuck in this range. It made a high, it made a low, and then it just sort of did its thing. Not really making any new higher highs or lower lows. So I wasn't really anticipating a low to be broken as soon as there was volume on Tuesday, and then just continued to melt. So that was just basically why Tuesday was a no trade day. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, swole_pockets, SWOLE_pockets, POCKETS. Thanks so much. Take care.